Welcome, the franchise. Henry and I just caught up on our personal lives. We know everything that's going on.
It was nice.
Yeah, that's right. The Deary, Daniel Ehrenberg. That was shitty. All right, and Henry over there. Henry's on the show as well.
Or should I call myself this week Henri? There's a lot of Henris in these movies. The H connection.
Yeah, we're talking about the Popeye franchise this week. All the Popeye movies.
Who would be Popeye? Who would be Cloudy in our dynamic?
I would say Robin Williams would be Popeye. In our dynamic,
if we were on the street,
you would be Popeye. I don't think that's our dynamic on the podcast, but I think like out there on the street, you're taking the lead, and I'm more the snarkster next to you.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see.
Yeah. You've got hunches. I wouldn't have hunches.
Yeah. All right, well, interesting. Well, everybody, this is going to be fun. We picked, this was a commission from...
Daniel Cloud. The great Daniel Cloud. One of the very fucking best and most patient listeners we have.
I'll say that. Now, Daniel Cloud, I hope I'm not revealing any witness protection program stuff, used to go under Danimal control. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think they're one and the same.
Same person.
Yeah.
All right. So,
he's I think, in Florida. Here's what the things I think I know about him.
All right,
I think he's in Florida, and I think he's the one that sent us Christmas presents. Yeah.
Still waiting for...
Hey, don't reveal that. All right. So he asked for the French Connection ages ago, back when he also asked for Leprechaun, one of our very best coverages.
Oh my God, where did this get buried?
Well, I just forgot he got two at the same time, and it's my fault entirely. I fucked it up. I literally, he commented. I had watched French Connection on Letterboxd, and he commented on the review, like, "Hey, buddy."
That's fucking great. And of course, but like I said last week, it only came up because I was running with Dan. We were running. I think that was on air.
Yeah. No. We took a break.
No.
We still didn't. I still didn't think of it until you mentioned French Connection. Yeah.
It was on my list. Yeah.
So we're talking the French Connection today, as well as its sequel, the French Connection 2. And I have a surprise for you, Henry.
I'm excited.
I watched roughly half of a 90-minute television pilot from the mid-'80s called Popeye Doyle, which is a French Connection TV show in which Ed O'Neill, pre-Married with Children, plays Popeye Doyle.
Oh my God.
Found that on YouTube from a VHS rip from the one time it aired as a television movie.
Now, how did you even know that existed?
On the French Connection Wikipedia page, it says something about it.
Oh, I read that whole thing. I must have skimmed right over that. Okay, wow. Holy shit. Ed fucking O'Neill. Huh.
Yeah, and he's great, but somehow even more homophobic and misogynistic than he was in the 70s. There's one, interrogation scene where, this gay guy is giving Ed O'Neill valuable information, and Ed O'Neill just goes, "Let me ask you a question. Do you like women?"
Love and marriage, love and gay marriage go together like a horse and carriage.
And
this, I tell you, brother, you can't have one without the
clunk.
Yeah.
So Andrew Susskind, one of the executive producers of Married with Children, was a professor at my college, and I think he's a charlatan. I've never confirmed it, But I think he wasn't actually an executive producer on Married with Children.
Oh, isn't that
He's
something?
credited as being so, but he presented it to the class like he was like involved in the creation of the show, you know? And
Guys, man. Yeah.
and then, but listen to this. This is even crazier. I took another class with him that was about producing for television, right? And he was talking about directing producers, and he said that he's like directed television, and he showed us an episode of The King of Queens that he directed, okay? And we watched in the class. It says directed by Andrew Susskind in the credits, right? Then, is this an annoying story? Or is
no.
Okay.
I'm sighing because I just can't. I hate fucking film people.
Yeah.
I hate them. Yeah.
So then, I, of course, love the show The King of Queens.
Yeah.
So I had it on DVD. In a rewatch of the series, I got up to the episode. And I was like, oh, my professor directed this. I get to the credits. It says directed by Rob Schiller, a guy who's directed like 100 other episodes of The King of Queens, just like their regular guy.
He fucking lied?
But not only did he lie, he showed us a cut of that episode with his name in the credits.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
So, did he somehow edit it in himself?
My God. That's what you're going to edit your name into? Of all things in the world you could brag about, you're going to put your name...
plausible? I don't know.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Wow.
It was fucked up. Yeah. So, Andrew Susskind, let me know. He might be out there.
I know him. Fucking hell, man. Jesus Christ, it's one of these fucking people. It's like, we'll know who you are if you are somebody. And you don't have to tell us here's my thing. I worked on it. You don't have to do that.
I think some of these old guys come from a time when you could get away with that shit in a pre-IMDb place,
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, you could say whatever the hell you wanted.
Yeah, but we're...
Go to the fucking library and double check you.
Remember, I was in college, so this was probably like 2007, 2008. And fucking, maybe you could still get away with that shit.
Smartphones were only coming around, so not every one of them had one. So
I didn't even have one. I had a flip phone at the time.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you're not going to, hey, can you look something? You have to go to sit down at your fucking laptop and look this shit up? No,
and you don't assume that the person who's been hired to be your professor at a higher institution of knowledge is going to lie that he helmed a King of Queens episode. Right, so Ed O'Neill, that's how we got on that. French Connection. Let's talk about the first one. It's a classic, isn't it? It's in the film registry. I like to bring that up.
It is.
It is. So it's based on a book. Has anyone read it? Do you think a single person living in the world has read the book that The French Connection is based on?
I don't know. I mean, I like stories like this, but a book about this, I don't know that I would. I think I'd need to know the author. I think I don't really know if
I'm
it would.
sure it's some pulpy shit, and
Right,
William Friedkin, who's an artist, turned it into a thing.
Yeah, Robin Moore.
That's the writer of the book.
Right. He wrote a lot of.
We sure it's a man? Maybe it's a lady.
I am. Yeah.
Born as Robert Moore. He changed his name.
Changed his name from Robert to Robin?
Yeah, that's a weird move, right?
He was already a big famous.
He also
Robert
wrote
Moore.
the book that the Green Berets is based on.
I think it's a man.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Speaking of men, the screenplay of the film was written by Ernest Tidyman.
Little Tidy. He's very, very neat and very sincere.
I agree, yeah. He passed away, unfortunately, in 1984, a long time ago. Maybe it's a conspiracy. Big Brother only knows. And he died from an ulcer, I guess. He was probably just an alcoholic.
I was going to say, what fucking ulcer? Wow, okay.
Yeah. But, he was an interesting writer. He wrote the books that fucking the Shaft movies are based on.
That's cool.
Isn't that cool? Wow. And wrote the movie, the first movie, anyway.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Wild, yeah.
And then he also wrote High Plains Drifter, which is a pretty cool Clint Eastwood film.
One of my top Clint Eastwood westerns. Yeah.
So there's not much after that, but I feel like once you've got The French Connection, Shaft, and High Plains Drifter on your resume, you're good for life.
And talk about three completely different fucking things.
Yeah.
I mean, two are cop movies, but one's like with black culture and one's with like very racist white culture, and then you got fucking Western in there. That's cool.
They're complicated movies too. I wouldn't call them so tidy.
They're not so tidy.
No. He doesn't bring his tidiness into his work.
No, he's anti-hero. Some of that stuff going on there, especially with High Plains and French Connection.
Yeah, he likes that shit for sure.
Yeah.
Friedkin's our director. Let's discuss this fella at length, I guess. He's an important film. What?
We only did it once, I guess.
Right? Oh, that's right. We did talk about Friedkin because he did The Exorcist.
That's correct. I mean, we might have even ranked his shit, but who the fuck can remember?
We probably did. Anyway, he's a director I have loads of time for. I
agree.
Even like when he's bad, he's interesting. Like I just watched one called The Guardian. You ever?
Okay.
It's a horror movie from like 1990 about an evil nanny. It's like the nanny of the baby turns out to be a witch, and she worships a tree or something, and it's kind of a bad movie, but
I remember this movie, yeah.
But sure. It had its moments, it had its fucking moments.
Yeah, this had, it had a kind of creepy cover. What is that, 1990, you said?
Yeah, it looks sort of like the Basic Instinct pose, like a lady. It's like a lady with her legs crossed. Or maybe I'm remembering it wrong. I'm looking at it now. It's a silhouette of a lady.
Okay. No, that's not what I'm thinking of. All right, but it is the movie I'm thinking of, just not the cover. I'm looking at Letterboxd. I don't have anything on here that's below a 3 for him.
I probably do, but he's made some great movies. Here, let's go through them. You name a great movie, I'll name one.
Yeah, you've seen more. I've only seen 8. The Exorcist.
Yeah, that's a great fucking movie. How about Sorcerer?
Great movie. To Live and Die in L.A.
Yeah, Cruising.
Yeah, Killer Joe. Fun.
Yeah, that is fun. Bug. Interesting.
Agreed on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Hunted.
It's got a lot of knife fights.
Dude, the movie's entertaining. I saw that shit in the theater thinking it would be crap. I think I only saw it because it was Friedkin. And I was like, this shit ain't bad.
I definitely only saw it because it's Friedkin. And, it ain't bad. It ain't bad. I even like a little Blue Chips. I like a couple moments in Jade. He's a good director.
Yeah, and I liked, I gave it 5 stars. Yeah, I remember watching this. I watched this like a year ago. Excellent documentary on him called Friedkin Uncut, 2018. Yeah, I gave it 5 stars. Only one other person on a want-to-watch list of some people we know, but
oh wow. And did you know that since 1991 he's been married to Sherry Lansing, one of the most powerful people in Hollywood?
Yeah. It's a wild documentary, and I remember one of the reasons probably I gave it such a high score is because they really do a comprehensive job of his films, and he is in it so much, and he's such a fucking lunatic.
Yeah,
that
he's one of these. He gives no fucks. He's very honest, dude.
Yeah, like he's
And he's hard on himself too. He talks shit about movies that I think are great.
Yeah, he does. So he's an eccentric fella, but like you go into his house, you see all his books and his screenplays of other people. It's very
Is Sherry Lansing there?
I think I remember seeing.
Amazing.
Yeah, you should check it out.
5 stars for Sherry Lansing.
I think I saw it on Amazon or something for nothing. Yeah, it was cool.
All right. I don't know why I'm kissing Sherry Lansing's ass. She's not going to hire me. You know.
Go.
Yeah, she's a big fan. All right. So this film, you know, they had a tough time casting it. We could talk about that, right? Did you read about that?
Yeah, because some of our old favorites, all who show up in every casting call we've done since the first episode of this show.
Chucky Bronson, always in the mix. James Caan, always considered, but nobody wants to land on James Caan.
True, but you know what's funny is that I could see him doing something with this role.
Yeah,
and I had television. And I had a weird opinion too. Hackman is so fucking great in these. Am I wrong in recalling that he was considered for Robert Duvall's role in The Godfather?
Yeah, no, I think he was in the mix for The Godfather. He could have done
that. He could have played Tom.
It would have been better.
Yeah. He'd have showed up in 1990 for that trash pile.
Sure, fucking would have. Yeah. Yeah, but then we wouldn't have gotten all that Andy Garcia, baby.
Right. Hackman's fucking awesome, man. We talk about the directors a lot, but and actors obviously, but we haven't been able to come across Hackman too much.
Hey, look, we did that ranking on the Patreon, patreon.com/thefranchise, where we ranked our favorite actors, and both of us had Hackman pretty high.
I don't even remember I put him on there. Okay.
Oh, maybe. I mean, I thought you did, but I definitely did.
I absolutely might have. Mm-hmm. I mean, that would make sense. He's just so unique. He's so bizarre. Like, he doesn't do that many movies. His career kind of peaked in the 90s, and then it was kind of just did some stuff.
But you can watch him in, like, he elevates everything he's in. Like, he elevates. I just watched, like, Narrow Margin, which is like a dumb thriller on a train. And it's like, it seems like a great movie because he's in it.
He's so fucking great. And, you know, something else, which if I forget, so I'll just say it now. I never really noticed too much in his other movies, but, like, in The French Connection, actually, I noticed it in The French Connection 2. He's
Roman numeral 2.
Roman numeral 2, of course. He's very physically imposing for a guy that is like a 70s star that's not like a muscle-bound fucking freak.
Yeah.
Like, the scene where he's like ripping the heroin in his apartment and just letting it fall on the floor.
Yeah.
And he's like he's a fucking big dude. Like, I could see being intimidated by him if he was like in your face.
He comes across tall and wide. I don't know how much of this is the directing in these particular movies, but we are dealing with two of our finest, according to most
directors.
Yeah.
Frankenheimer, we'll get to him next.
Yeah, we will.
Hot and cold on Frankie.
Me too.
But yeah, he ain't Friedkin, that's for sure. But yeah.
No. Frankenheimer, I think I'd prefer a Frankensteiner. A great move by Scott Steiner, the great wrestler. Henry, that was for a couple wrestling listeners out there. Frankenweenie, you said?
Kids that listen to the show.
We just covered that on We Love Kids Movies for Halloween, patreon.com/thefranchise.
There you go. There it is.
Okay. October 7th, 1971 was the release date of this particular movie. It came out, it was a budget of $1.8 million. It was actually greenlit for 1.5 and they went slightly over. But what a hit, Henry. What a hit. It ends up making $75 million worldwide. Boffo Bio, if I ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Number 3 for the year.
Okay.
Number 3. I wrote down the top 5. Do you want to take a guess at this for 1971?
I don't think I'm gonna do well because I'm immediately thinking of a Clockwork Orange, but that's not gonna be
That's
there.
not on the list. Henry, think about it for a second. I'm just gonna take my headphones off. I forgot something.
Okay. All right. 1971. I'm gonna try not to. No, I won't look up anything. What do we got? Woody Allen. We got fucking Bananas. We don't have a Godfather. We don't have.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was talking because we're running.
Well, I know, Henry. I understand. I'm sure it was great content.
Didn't you mean that for me to keep?
Yes, I did.
All right. Yeah. So I'm talking it out, and I'm saying, well, I'm thinking Woody Allen's Bananas. That didn't make shit. 71, Carver. We don't have a Godfather. We don't have. Maybe we got an Eastwood Western. The Sting. That's not 71.
No, come on.
Wow.
Number 5. We've got. It's a James Bond film. You should have this.
Oh, Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Number 4 is a film I'm not familiar with called Summer of 42. And I just think it's funny that was such a success in 1971. We're just always looking back to what was going on 20, 30 years ago.
Very true.
Yeah. It's whatever. True. You know, then later in the decade, American Graffiti, we're on to the 50s. Happy Days, you know?
So true.
In the 90s, it's that 70s show. That's what we need. It's ridiculous.
You're absolutely right, man. Yeah. Although now we seem to be in this weird period where we're not looking at the aughts. We're done with the 90s.
No, we're doing 90s and aughts still all the time.
Well, I think we're in a very strong 80s periods again. We're having this big thing with the fucking 80s. Everybody loves it.
It's just the aesthetics. It's the aesthetics of the 80s, but I'm telling you, all the period pieces I'm looking at, all the popular documentaries, all the famous true stories that are being made into films, they're all from the 90s and the aughts.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's interesting to look at. Woodstock 99 was just examined in a classic documentary.
Oh, yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, how'd the name Jackie Gleason strike you as Popeye Doyle? That was one of the names that was considered. I thought that was funny.
That's fucking amazing, man. I mean, I don't know. It's just these fucking casting people.
No, it's Friedkin. Friedkin didn't want Hackman. The studio did.
That's true, actually. In this case, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Jimmy Breslin.
Jimmy Breslin. He tried to get Jimmy Breslin, the sports reporter. Yeah, so I guess Paul Newman was the first choice, and it was just like, he's way too expensive. And then he was like, well, how about Jackie Gleason? And the studio was like, no, are you high? And
and then I read the same thing that happened with fucking Newman was the same thing with McQueen, right? Like McQueen didn't anyway, but then he was out of the price range to begin with. So it was like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Peter Boyle was considered and didn't want to do an action movie.
You could see Boyle doing it, though.
Yeah, he would have been good, actually.
Yeah.
All right. So what a hit it was. Oh, right. That's what we were talking about, the top 5. Summer of 42. Then this was number 3. Number 2 was Billy Jack.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Which launched a franchise. And number 1 was our great Jewish cosplay, Fiddler on the Roof.
Yes.
That's how the world wants to see the Jews.
Dancing on roofs and singing Hava Nagila songs.
And they got the beards and the curlies. And, they're going to sing If I Was a Rich Man.
Right. Matchmaker.
Yeah, matchmaker. That's good.
Fiddler on the Roof with Andrew Dice Clay. Matchmaker, make me a match. Go blow me. Fuck you.
Yeah, that's not an exaggeration. He's definitely done that bit.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
Yeah. All right. Do you have your themes? Because The French Connection was an extremely successful film with critics and voting bodies.
Yeah, give me a second. I had it up, but I was stuck on the casting choices because there were a couple more that were a little bit.
Oh, I wrote them all down. It's right. We mentioned most of them. Then Lee Marvin and Robert Mitchum were the other two. Like
Lee Marvin,
horrible.
Can't even walk, let alone run. All right, what's going first?
Oh well, let's start off with at the big ones.
All right.
Oscars, it's the red carpet, it's the red carpet and the gowns and the duchess. The Oscars, it's the big night for Hollywood, the red carpet and the golden man.
Yeah, that is a great theme. All right. It won a bunch of Oscars, Henry.
Yeah, a lot.
Best Picture. This movie.
It's funny. My whole life I knew that. Because I pride myself being able to name most of them from 1970 on. But when it came on and I was watching, I was like,
it just doesn't feel like a Best Picture.
I was like, nominated or did it win? I could not remember. I had to look it up. I'm like, of course it won. Why did I not think it did? I don't know. Yeah.
It's too cool. That's why you wouldn't think. It's like a good choice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So Gene Hackman took home the Best Actor statuette.
Now, see, that is something that wouldn't happen today. And what I mean by that is that in an action New York cop movie, that would never happen. You would not.
But part of that is because, like, after this movie, they became a dime a dozen. Like, a New York gritty street cop movie was exciting at this point. And then after this movie came out, Sidney Lumet was like, I think I have my career.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, Prince of the City and shit. Yeah, but even you think about movies where you really do see some really great roles in action movies, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's an action movie. I mean, but it's just they don't give awards to that stuff. They're giving awards to heartstring performances.
No, I agree. Broderick was snubbed for Godzilla in '98.
What? Where do you... Oh man!
All right.
Go ahead. What else?
Oh, Friedkin won Best Director.
Fucking A.
Yeah. Ernest Tidyman took home the Best Writer statuette.
For him.
Yeah. And it also won Best Editing. And not only that, but the Editors Guild a bunch of years ago did a list of the best edited movies ever. And this was like number 10 or something. It was very high.
Yeah. It's certainly got unique and noticeable editing.
Yeah. Highly regarded amongst the editors of the world.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about score? Did it get a nom for that?
It didn't get nominated for score from anybody. And I don't really understand why.
It's a good one.
It's really good. And it stands out.
It really stands out. There's some moments in there where he's like doing some fucking like atonal shit. It's like wild fucking Charles Ives weirdo shit. It's crazy. And I was like,
they even tried to do a fake version of it for the Popeye Doyle show with Ed O'Neill.
Yeah.
What's
his name? I don't have it up.
It's a little 80s out. It sounds sort of like the French Connection theme, but it's got some synths in there and stuff.
Just gonna say, does it have synths?
Of course it does.
What's his name? The composer? Do you
have
it up?
I don't remember.
When I go back to the page, doesn't matter.
No, I can pull it in just a second. I've said that many times in my life. Don Ellis is the composer. And Ellis. How about this? A toast to Don Ellis, Henry. Yeah. Passed away at the age of 44 in 1978. I don't think I ever knew that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He had a heart attack, for fuck's sake. Poor guy.
I hope not another.
No, he only scored a few movies. Looks like the only two of note really are the two French Connections.
Well, they're great scores, so he left something behind.
Yeah, he sure did.
Wow.
Well done. A toast to Don Ellis.
Don Ellis.
But I'll tell you what awards it was nominated for.
What's that?
Supporting actor, Roy Scheider.
Right. Love it. I love Roy. Yep.
but he did not win. Ben Johnson won. He was like an old cowboy guy that they dug up for a little character role in The Last Picture Show, and he is very great in it.
Oh, okay. All right. Unseen by me. Yes.
Yeah. And it was nominated for Best Sound, but lost to The Fiddler on the Roof, because that has music in it.
Correct.
And it was nominated for cinematography, and it lost to Fiddler on the Roof, which is absurd. And
I love it. Clockwork Orange, I think, got director and picture noms.
at least that, yeah.
Nothing else. I'd be maybe production design. I just think that's amazing that Clockwork Orange.
No, it probably got technical noms.
I
I would think so. And
don't know about technical, but anyway, yeah. So it was competing against that.
Yeah. BAFTA, Henry. BAFTA.
It's been a while. All right, here we go. Here we go.
I'm ready.
Here we go.
British Academy of Film, Television, and Arts. BAFTA.
Great work.
No, I gotta say, I don't know if you knew this, but they work in direct conjunction with another group.
And the British Film Institute.
Yeah, they don't. It needed to be heard.
All right, the BAFTAs. Hey, Hackman won over there, too. Everyone loves Gene.
That's great.
It also won for editing, and didn't win anything else. It was nominated for film and lost to Cabaret,
Okay.
which I think came out years earlier in America.
I was just gonna say, I thought it came out in '72.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, no, you're right. It came out in '72 in America, so maybe early in.
Well, there's 6 hours ahead of us over there, so it's the time difference.
And Bob Fosse won Best Director over Friedkin as well.
Okay.
And what else we got? Sound. It was nominated for Sound, and it lost to Cabaret because that has music in it. And the Golden Globes are next.
Oh, my. All right.
It's the GGs, the Golden Globes. It's the Hollywood Foreign Press, mostly French.
Yeah, well, it won Best Drama at the Golden Globes. Really taking home the awards. Gene Hackman, of course, won again there. And Friedkin took home Best Director. And it only lost its 4th nomination for Screenplay because they gave it to Paddy Chayefsky, who had written The Hospital that year.
Oh, that's George C. Scott, right?
Yes, yeah.
I always wanted to see that movie. I never saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever wanted to see it, but maybe I should.
Well, our friend and sometime guest Jason Anthony Harris told me I'd like it. He told me about it a long time ago. So I just didn't get around to it, and I don't think it was available. I don't know if it still is.
Hey,
Isn't available.
hey, speaking of Jason Anthony Harris, Public Speaking just put out a new record last week.
That they did.
Yeah, so check that out.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the name of it. Maybe I'll look it up at the end of the show. All right. Hey, Henry, I know you've been waiting for this one.
Oh, aren't we all?
We are at last again talking about a film that has been recognized by the American Film Institute.
AFI.
You'll never top that one.
I think it's the first.
It's the first and the best.
Yeah.
So here are the lists that the French Connection appears on. The AFI thinks that the French Connection is the 70th best movie ever made.
Wow.
How about that? But then, hang on. 10 years later, of course, they revised the list.
Yes.
They changed their minds.
Uh-oh.
It's only the 93rd best movie of all time.
Ooh, 23 spots.
That's a big fall for the French Connection.
Oh, boy, that's shameful.
Yeah.
Shameful on French.
Maybe Gene Hackman was talking shit in interviews or something.
Like the AFIs. What do you want? AFI? You pick your feet and Poughkeepsie?
Hey, that's not a bad Gene Hackman.
It's first try.
It's impressive.
Thank you. I do want to discuss that line later because I
it came up more than I remembered.
and I don't recall that I ever knew what it meant, and I meant to look it up before the show, and I didn't. Yeah.
I thought it was literal. I thought it was picking feet in Poughkeepsie. I thought they had like a guy's DNA from his feet. Is that dumb?
No, nothing's dumb because it makes no sense. I always took it to be like just something to throw off someone he's interrogating, like looking at him like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's what I always took it as.
Maybe it is.
What are you talking about? You know, do you ever pick? Because he says it in fucking France too.
I'll tell you what, I get confused sometimes watching The French Connection because there's a weird disconnect between the visuals and the script. And I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but it's odd because from a screenplay perspective, The French Connection is kind of just a crime procedural, and it's got like funny characters and good dialogue.
That's true. It's a straightforward story that's told not in a straightforward way.
Exactly. Yeah, but Friedkin shoots it all fucking cinema verite. His biggest influence for the movie was Z by Kostik Gavras, which was not a surprise to me.
I never saw that movie.
It's, you know, The Wire was influenced by Z. It's supposed to feel like incredibly like street level and real. You ever see the Battle of Algiers?
Yeah, I just did recently.
That's sort of the same vibe.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. AFI thinks that The French Connection is the 8th most thrilling movie of all time. Now, I don't know why they weren't so thrilled by the other 92 movies on their list or whatever, but, you know, I guess it doesn't have to thrill you to make the list.
No. It's just, you know, and depending on what your thrilling trajectory is, you know, some people are easily thrilled, some people aren't, you know.
Though that is the gamut.
What a great editorial that was. On my part. Nothing. Yeah.
Popeye Doyle, Henry, according to the American Film Institute, is the number 44 greatest hero of all time. Just straight up hero.
Interesting. 44.
He's on the list with Superman.
He's number 44. He's 44. He's the Obama of
the hero villain list. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
So great stuff. Congrats to Popeye Doyle and his portrayers, Gene Hackman and Ed O'Neill.
Yeah. Fucking unbelievable.
All right. Delightful. Oh, I have another thing I wanted to bring out. This is people have been waiting for the return of this, Henry.
All right.
The Blockbuster book.
Oh, wow.
All right.
That's been a minute. Yeah.
Long-time listeners can remember a bit I used to do on the show. I was in a group called Smart Recovery, which was an addiction recovery group that I was moderating, sort of, and fucking a dude in the group, it was like Christmas or my birthday, gave me a present, all right? And he knew one thing about me. I like movies.
You do.
Yeah.
You're a fan.
Yeah. So he gave me this book. It retailed for $2.95 at Blockbuster Video in the year 1989.
Yeah.
And it's a collector's edition, it says so. And
see it? Can you hold that up?
Yeah. It covers...
Oh, wow. That's very nice.
It gives you all the best movies from every year from 1927 to 1989. If you want to look at movies after 1989, you're out of luck.
You're out of luck.
But
now, this does not cover the Blockbuster Awards, correct?
I don't believe the Blockbuster Awards started until after this book was put into production.
Yeah, but you know what? I think just me seeing that warrants,
Fine. That was worth it. All right. So let's see what Blockbuster had to say about The French Connection. All right. Henry, the chase is on. one of filmdom's most famous by car. That's horribly worded. That's all that sentence is trying to say is this movie has a killer chase sequence.
Yeah, that's poorly worded.
All right. Hackman is brilliant in his role as Popeye Doyle, the NYC cop whose main goal is to demolish an international drug ring. Oscar nominated, well, whatever. Hackman returned as Doyle in the French Connection 2 in 1975. Do you want to hear some of the other things they thought were good in 1971?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Here, how about I'll read you the description. You tell me what movie it is.
Okay. I don't know. All right, go ahead.
All right, here are the movies, and they are in alphabetical order. A 30-something for the 70s. A 30-something. They're referencing the show 30-something. It's 1989.
Yeah, all right.
A 30-something for the 70s begins with the college friendship of two men and carries it to their middle age. Their relationship... What?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Their relationships with women are the primary focus, including, respectively, a co-ed and a whirling but sensuous model. This was Anne Margaret's first Oscar-nominated performance, the beginning of her serious status in movies.
Carnal knowledge.
Great. Nailed it.
Thank you.
Next. This Best Picture Academy Award nominee is one of its director's most artistic and shocking movies.
Clockwork Orange.
Okay. Very good. Kubrick's imagery astounds from the first frame, Henry. As does Walter Carlos's synthesized classic score. McDowell is superb.
Yeah, all right. True.
This movie predicted the skinhead movement 10 years in advance. The skinhead movement? Blockbuster.
I feel like that was around prior, but I think they were called Nazis, but...
I think Blockbuster believes there were very fine people on both sides of that discussion.
I don't know, Blockbuster. You got to get your that guy who checks your history.
All right, next.
Oh, weird.
This actor's premiere performance in the role he's reprised 4 times thus far. He's a no-nonsense cop dedicated to capturing a murderous psychopath, whatever it takes. And it takes action-packed excitement that never lets up.
A no-nonsense cop.
We've covered it. We've covered it for the show.
I was going to say Death Wish.
No, it's Dirty Harry. All right.
Oh, fuck. Of
Next.
Course. Jesus Christ.
All right.
But he ain't a cop in Death
Let's see if you can get this one.
All right.
Topol as Tevye the Milkman carries this spectacular film version of the hit musical play. It celebrates the Jewish tradition with a joyous score. That's us, joyous score. Including If I Were a Rich Man and Tradition. Their sadness, Tevye and his family are forced to leave their home to avoid persecution in Tsarist Russia. But also a counterbalance of uplifting songs and spirit.
I'm going to say Shoah.
No, it's Fiddler. Okay. All right. Next. December May romances were never so macabre. This strange movie has a significant cult following. All right?
I got that. Harold and Maude.
Very good. Okay. Next, this writer received the Oscar for his sardonic script about an urban hospital and its various crises. Some funny, some scary, some sad.
All right. This is a guess. Did Patty Chayefsky write that?
Yeah, he did.
Fuck, I'm nailing it, man.
Yeah. The hospital.
I'm Dirty Harry of all things. That's the one I missed.
Yeah. Next up, we've got 4 more. First up. Oh, you know what's interesting? It tells you the Blockbuster category, and for one of them it says not available on video. I guess it was out of print at this particular moment. All right, but for this next one. This actress won her first Best Actress Oscar playing a hooker stalked by a psychotic killer. Her multi-layered work is complemented by another actor as the devoted detective. Very good, yes.
All right. I guess I do know 71 a little bit. Next
up, out of print, it's also the greatest picture show by Bogdanovich.
The Final Movie House.
Yeah, that's right. Next, this director's a master with offbeat characters. Here he debunks notions of a glamorous turn of the century in the Pacific Northwest, centering on a saloon bordello and its small-time owner.
The best little whorehouse in Texas?
No, Julie Christie is excellent as an ambitious madame. This is vintage Altman.
Nashville?
McCabe and Mrs. Miller, sir.
Oh, of course,
Nashville
of
did
course.
not take place at the turn of the century in the Pacific Northwest.
Fucking no. Yeah, and it didn't come out that year. Yeah.
Yep. All right, next
I
up.
missed too. Okay.
You're doing well. Lastly, this famous actor, in a role unlike any of his others, plays a pacifist from the United States. His reaction, blah, blah, blah. Don't miss one of the screen's greatest actors in a movie that caused controversy due to its seeming approval of violence. All right. All right.
He broke.
He's a pacifist from the United States who marries an English woman and moves to a peaceful village. And then some shit goes down.
But he is known for playing rough type characters.
No. It's just unlike any of his others because all his roles are different.
Boy, I don't fucking know, man.
Straw Dogs, baby. We're talking about D. Hoff.
Oh, wow. Great movie. Okay. Wow, that's a hell of a year. That's some good shit there. Wow.
And great taste from Blockbuster Video.
Good for you, Blockbuster.
Wow. What a difference, as ever.
They make a difference, like a day.
Yeah.
Not more than a day, but at least a day.
Probably not. All right. Oh, god damn it. It's so annoying that I can't use these free video rental coupons on the back of the store. They were only available through October 31st, 1990.
Oh, they're 32 years old. You should go to an old...
I should find that one. There's that
Blockbuster.
one Blockbuster
Right,
that still
right.
exists in like
go
Alaska
there.
or something.
I bet you $1 million they'd honor those coupons.
I bet you they would too. They'd be charmed
Totally.
by me bringing
They'd
them.
be so charmed.
Yeah.
And you're in Alaska, so nobody does anything over there. You could say you have a show, which would already make you really impressive to them, even if they don't know the show. You'd be like, hey, look, I run a really...
I would
internet
just tell
show.
them like I'm on Ice Road Truckers.
Oh,
They'd
You
be
could say
impressed by that.
you're part of Palin's Russia scouting team.
They don't like that. They'd probably be offended. They've heard all the Palin jokes.
Yeah, they had.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd play it up. I'd say, look, I'm part of an international podcast. We get the
An international. All podcasts are international, technically.
Hey, I heard something the other day. I wanted to tell you. Rather, I didn't hear it. I looked it up. I was curious after doing this show with you for 15 or 16 years now, how many podcasts are estimated to actually be around in the world?
Uh-huh.
Can you take a guess?
Millions.
Okay, that's more than I thought, but yeah. Well, do they have an approximation, though, like an actual approximation?
2.7 million.
Do you know this already?
No, I made this up right off the
2
top of my
million.
head.
2
Wow,
million.
I did really well.
You sure did, man. So whenever we see that we're ranking 245th in Japan...
Yeah, I guess we
don't
can feel pretty good about that.
I don't feel bad at all, man.
All right.
2 million fucking shows. That was your motivator for the week.
That's Henry Papali over there with a glass half full.
Still haven't charted in the States, though, as far as I know.
I don't think so either. All right, so let's talk about someplace we have charted, France. We start the film in Marseille,
Yeah.
and, we check out... Well, there's a lot of setup in this movie. I feel like we spend some time at a little villa for a while with, like, the bearded guy talking to his lady. Sort of a May-December romance. I think they actually have charming chemistry in that scene.
I agree. They're fine. Doesn't seem like she's unpleasantly kept, like
No.
a girl or something. Yeah. And I actually wanted to bring up an hour in now. I'm glad we're getting to the movie. And, there was a lot of build-up. It's part of the show. What was that? You all right?
There was a lot of build-up.
Oh, all right. Got it. And he just came, everybody.
It was a coming joke.
What's the Zach Galifianakis one that's great? It's happening. It's happening.
I don't remember that.
That's how he said he orgasms.
That's great.
It's happening. It's happening. Yeah, I thought about your Letterboxd review from a year ago of The French Connection, and you wrote something about it would be helpful if we had like a more compelling or charismatic villain. Is that okay to say?
Yeah.
But I'm glad I read it because it made me think. And I read it before I watched the movie. And by the way, we've both seen this movie. I've only really watched it all the way through probably once, but I've seen clips of it many times.
No, I've seen it probably like 3 or 4 times.
Okay. But precisely, I think that's why I like this villain. Because he's so realistically uncharismatic. He's just a fucking... Like, that is what I like. Like
I like Beardy. I turned the corner on Beardy.
But yeah, Beardy's like he's just an uncharismatic kind of heroin guy. He's not twirling his mustache or any shit like that. You know, he's just kind of like unremarkable, and I like that. It makes it more realistic to me.
Yeah, I found myself disagreeing with myself on this go round. I don't know. I was starting to feel... I always thought of French Connection as like an all-time classic. And then I watched it like a year or so ago, whenever it was, and I dropped from a 5 to a 4.
I recall you saying that.
And
yes.
I decided that the villains needs to be better or something. And I really think I got caught up in that disconnect that I was talking about, where the movie... I don't know. Like, I just want more color or something. Like, it's like too verite for what it is at times. But on this go around, it didn't bother me so much. I sort of do wish, like, maybe there's like a couple of times, like when they give Hackman and Scheider those other 2 cops to like work with.
Yeah.
Like, why can't they be fun characters? You know, or like Beardy has like 1,000 different random dudes around him throughout the movie.
He does.
I never learn any of their names. I don't give a shit when they die. Like, I'm not saying I necessarily need to or it detracts from the movie that much, but like, why can't they have a little bit more character?
Well, you know what I think it is? I think in this particular movie, it's more about the plot than it is any other characters except Roy and Gene.
And it's such a depressed movie.
Well, that's what I like about it.
No, me too. Yeah. It's downbeat and it's downtrodden and it's cynical and it doesn't believe in America. And, you know, I can relate to a lot of that. And it's great. It's got a real downer ending that I think is probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah, you know what else it does amazingly, which you just don't find even when they really try to recreate that shit today, or is holy hell, did it really look like they didn't do any set dressings or preparation on those street scenes of any kind? There's just fucking garbage. Like, it doesn't look like they like got anything ready. I mean, I'm sure they did.
I'm not sure they did much. Like, I think you're right. He learned from Z, which was shot in this verite style, and I noticed a couple times watching it this time, like, there's a couple extras that glance at the camera and stuff. I think they were running and gunning this thing. Also, it only cost that $1.5 million.
Yeah, and, you know, I was reading about the chase for, like, the umpteenth time. I've read about it before, but, you know, and just saying how, like, the fucking they had stunt drivers.
Who's his father-in-law? Do you know that story? That's a famous story about that chase.
Whose father-in-law?
At the time, William Friedkin was in a relationship.
Oh yeah, fucking Howard Hawks.
Howard Hawks. He was in a relationship with Howard Hawks' daughter, and so like he'd already directed like The Boys in the Band and shit like that, and he like asked Howard Hawks like, "Do you have any opinions on my movies?" Which is a weird thing to ask your.
But he would.
Yeah.
Friedkin uncut thing, man. That's what he's like. Yeah, but anyway.
And Hawks was like, I don't fucking care for them. They're pretty weak to me. I say no one's ever perfected a chase. Do a chase better than anybody else. And so like he actually took it to heart, and he picked up this script, and I don't think the chase was quite as much of a centerpiece in the script, but he sure as fuck made it one.
Yeah, he did. And that's a really interesting thing, to even psychologically, right? Somebody who's very, very famous, a legend. I can't say I've ever seen a Howard Hawks film. I don't think I ever saw it. He did Scarface with James Cagney, right?
Yeah, Red River.
I didn't see it. But like somebody tells you something like that, and you're a director and you're thinking about, and someone tells you a direct, very simple thing. No one's ever done a chase that well. Do that.
Yeah.
And that coming from that, like that would be an amazing thing to hear. I wouldn't take it like an offensive thing to my previous work. I'd be like, you know what? Challenge accepted.
I wouldn't take it as offensive, but when you're young and bright and talented like William Friedkin was, I just wonder, an old guy like that, like an old
that generation of filmmakers,
old master.
Those guys.
No, I know, I understand that he looks up to him, but like, I don't know, if like a 75-year-old director came up to me today and was like, direct the best chase, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I think it would depend on who it was, but what I mean is it gives him like a singular mission to at least if the film, when he's making the film, if he does nothing else with the film, and he does a lot more.
I hope Howard Hawks thought this chase was cool, because like he inspired it, and it really is an awesome fucking chase.
He goes to the screening and he's like, not bad, kid. Maybe they'll do it better in the sequel.
I prefer Frankenheimer's The Chase.
I need him to get, where's the boats? You buy New York Harbor. Throw a boat in the next one.
Well, always throw a boat into the sequel. Speed knew that.
Absolutely. Jaws 2 knew that.
I would have never thought they'd put a boat in the sequel to Jaws. All right. So Popeye Doyle and Cloudy McCloud, those are our guys.
Cloudy McCloud. The great opening sequence, too, with the Santa Claus suit. I always forget it's coming.
It's not the opening sequence. Like, there's all this setup in France before that. But, yeah, once we cut to Brooklyn and it's Gene Hackman in that Santa Claus suit, it's almost like a cold open. You see what I mean about this being like a police procedural?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And he's running around, and basically they're just, and I caught this in a line that their sergeant tells them later, or whatever he is, lieutenant, that basically they have, Cloudy and Popeye have like the highest rate of narcotics busts in the city, but they're all small time. And this, I guess, the opening is sort of an example. So
he's my least favorite police officer of all time. He's just going around arresting like potheads, and throwing them in jail. Yeah, like that I love in the second one that French police guy, constable or whatever, says to him like, what's police work in America? You run around Harlem arresting blacks? And I was like, oh my God, it's like a pretty decent all cops are bastards statement.
That was a good line. Yeah, it was a real good line.
Yeah.
I mean, but what I was just, obviously you're right. But like, I think it's like an indicator, right? That like, that's just kind of like what they do. And then they stumble upon this whole thing by accident, by Popeye telling Cloudy after a rough day, oh, let me take you out for a drink. And they just spot these mob guys at this pretty cool place with these singers who are extremely good, by the way.
I agree.
And they're just like, oh, by the way, some more lovely Italians depicted in these movies. Accurately, very accurate Italian. That's what my family was doing in the 70s. They basically just stake their lot on following this Sal Boca, right?
But you get it because of that setup, It's again like a police procedural, because by telling you that they've really only been in low rent work in the narcotics game, when they stumble upon this case, it shows to Goya that this is not a normal case for them. Like, this is not just like the case of the week. This latest episode. This is the craziest shit they've ever seen in their lives, and it justifies Popeye driving himself insane trying to get to the bottom of it through two movies.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I like I thought about this when the movie was happening, when they said it, how unlikely it would be impossible today because of the internet and social media. But the plan of the heroine of Charnier is actually quite brilliant. By just having an unsuspecting, down on his luck but famous actor, you'd never in a million years think that is where something is coming from. I mean, that's brilliant.
I think there's a problem with the plan.
All right, what's that?
All right. The plan is that the actor's the fall guy, right? He's not supposed to know it's there, but if it's discovered, he's the one that's going to go down. And at the end of the movie, they give you this sort of sequence of, like, letting you know, like, what happens next to some of these folks.
Yes.
Which is great. I wish I've said this before and I'll say it again. I wish every movie ended with that and then picture credits.
It's nice.
And so they say that actor guy went to prison.
Yeah.
And I just don't buy it.
Well, I'm sure he did.
But
it's an actual thing.
I know, but by making him a famous actor in the movie, famous actors don't face consequences.
This is very true. But he's a French actor, so maybe they treat them differently over there. I
don't think Alain Delon would go to jail if he got caught in America doing something.
Yeah, I know, that's a good point. I actually was curious about that because I was trying to figure out in the sentencing phase why they would, like, what if he was truly unsuspecting. I mean, what would they get him on? Possession without intent? I mean, I don't know. I'm no
possession with intent to sell, probably.
But he would have said, I mean, probably pretty convincingly,
but he would have had so many drugs with him. So many, Henry.
Yeah.
It's just too many drugs.
It's too many drugs.
Yeah.
Got to check those floorboards, baby.
You better.
That's a great scene.
Checking the floorboards?
I forgot that when they're stripping that car. And I forgot. I was like, oh fuck! I guess they switch cars and it's somewhere else. And then
of course it's the last it's the last place you look, Henry.
Yeah, of course it is, and that's what surprised me too. I was like, you wouldn't tear up the fucking sideboards of the car.
Well, but you need the hero of the film, Popeye, to come up with it. Like all those other cops.
Cloudy comes up with it.
Who?
Cloudy comes up with it.
But still, one of our protags. There's like a lot of extra cops working on that car for hours. Right. And then our two boys walk in, and Roy Scheider's like, hey, about the floorboards.
Yeah, it weighed this when it got here. It weighs more.
That's right. He's got weight distribution calculations.
Yeah. Scheider does such a great job, too. Not just in this movie, but kind of in everything I've seen him in. He always has this, like, laconic, laid-back manner, but can, like, instantly turn into, like, intensity. Like, he does it in Marathon Man, Sorcerer, Jaws. Like, he's a perfect foil to Doyle. Like, he's got, like, that, like, kind of, like, he has this...
He's got like an everyman quality. It's a guy next door kind of a thing. But, you know, he's a good actor. So when he's playing intensity, it's in every man's intensity.
Yeah, right. I mean, obviously Gene Hackman's kind of known for being like sort of an everyman, but he's also got sort of that
but he can play a fucking creep. He can do a lot.
Yeah, I mean, in Unforgiven, he's like one of the best villains in cinematic history, in my opinion. Little Bill.
Yeah, and that's why he works in roles like Royal Tenenbaums or something, because you never quite know where he is. Like, you don't know how sincere he is, how genuine he is.
He's got one of my favorite lines in that movie. When Gwyneth Paltrow finds out she had a grandmother and he never told her, and she's like, "Why didn't you ever tell me that I had a grandmother?" "Oh, I don't know, honey. I just didn't think you'd care. Didn't think you'd be interested. Anyway,
This is my adopted daughter, Margot Tenenbaum.
So fucking great.
What a classic. All right, so...
Well, they're at the Copacabana. I'm just seeing that on Wikipedia. That makes sense. I didn't notice that in the movie. When they see the mob guys, they're at the Copacabana. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Looking quite different than it did 20 years later when shot in Goodfellas.
Yeah, so the whole movie, it starts with them trailing Sal and Angie, who are very charming. Angie's 19 years old. By the way, Hackman, this is genius. Okay, you shouldn't do this because it's sexual harassment probably, but the way he flirts with this Angie lass in this diner scene, do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do, but it's not Hackman, it's Cloudy again.
What the fuck? Why do I remember all these great moments as being...
Yeah, it's Cloudy saying he wants her to try on this
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
he says, "I want you to try on clothes for me because my wife..." You know, you guys are about the same size, and it's a ridiculous line, but she comes back with like, "My husband's right there," and he's just like, "I don't care, your husband's right there. It's for my wife. Like, right. I just want to see if it would fit." It would work, I think.
Hey, you never know. They're kind of pimps in these fucking movies. I mean, Scheider and Hackman, they're always like Hackman especially.
In the second one, it's stupid, though. Like, he can fuck anything he wants in that second movie. It's ridiculous. But, yeah, but they are horny. You know, they're cops.
One of the things I wanted to mention about the movie was, I've talked about this in the past, is that there are so many things in this movie that could be explained by longer scenes of interaction between characters, but they don't need to. They just do it. Like when they fucking show Hackman getting wasted, and then he wakes up the next day and he's laying in his bed and his ankle is chained to his bed, and Scheider goes in, opens his door with a credit card, and he like.
Oh my god, yeah. "Let yourself in," he says, and he opens the door with a credit card. That's such a great detail.
Fucking genius. And when he just like wakes up and he's like, "Ah, that girl." Like, whatever. Like, he doesn't wake up surprised. He doesn't give a fuck. She's still there.
Yeah, she's in the other room.
It's not anything like you think you're entering. Like, you enter this room thinking maybe he was in danger or he got robbed or it's kinky
He's
shit.
just lazy.
Yeah, he's just lazy. He even says to Scheider, he's like, "She got me with my own handcuffs. Throw me the keys. They're right over there." Yeah. It's like, the fucking keys are right there, man. Yeah, it's.
Well, he's had a wild night of fucking. That's how we know we can root for this fella.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
All right. So, anything else you want to discuss?
Oh, I mean, I think the before the big chase, there's the great foot walk chase with him and Charnier, with Hackman, where Charnier's going in and out of the subway.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
My
there's
God,
a few. Nathaniel and I used to talk about the song "November Rain," right? Where it ends with this amazing guitar solo from Slash, one of my favorite guitar solos of all time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Even you doing "Nair Nair Nair" was exhilarating to me. Now, see, my point that I've been trying to stitch together here is that there's a few chases before the large chase, the memorable one, and it's like the song "November Rain" in that song has a couple little cock tease solos before the big solo where you're like, "Oh, is this the one?" and then he starts soloing, and you're like, oh, it's not the fucking one. And
Got
it's
it.
like that in this movie. Popeye Doyle, every time he's starting to get fleet-footed, you're like, is this the one? So you gonna shoot that guy?
Got it. Some false starts. False starts.
But it makes it all the more satisfying when we finally get there.
Yeah, it does. And because I'd only seen it like once or twice, I never remember when the chase is coming. So I kept thinking it was going to be this scene or this scene, and it's not. And as I recall, it's well over an hour into the movie, correct?
Not well over. It's not that long a movie. It's only, hour 40?
It's like 110, something like that, yeah.
No, I don't think it was quite 110. Hour 44.
Okay, we were both wrong. So it's pushing 2 hours, but yeah.
It's off by 4 minutes, sir.
All right, I was off by 15, sir. 10, sir. Yeah. So when it does come, I think it's obviously it's awesome. It's fucking crazy. I did like that henchman. You were saying how they all kind of are, personality less, but he's got a good creepy.
The one who gets shot.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
of course, you need that guy to be like at least someone you want to see get shot.
Yeah. I mean, he kills he kills like 4 people, and I blame the heart attack that the train driver has on him, because obviously or maybe he just got a bad heart and he would have died anyway.
This Popeye Doyle is a menace, as far as I'm concerned. He should not be on the force. I am fully against this man.
Oh yeah, because he induced the chase.
Yeah, this whole movie is like trying to convince you, like, yeah, see, he breaks the law, and he uses too much violence, and he frames people, and he uses methods that are against the law quite clearly, but he's a good cop.
Yeah, that's interesting,
one
though.
of the good ones.
Do you think that the movie is trying to say that about him, or is it way more just detached?
Nah, I think the movie likes Popeye more than I probably do. Yeah.
Interesting, because I mean, I always get the impression like he's the hyped up version of Cloudy. Like Cloudy would be, he breaks the rules too, but he'd be not, And I didn't really ever. I'm not sure where I fall.
I'm not saying the movie thinks the guy is like. I'm not saying he should be number 44 on the AFI hero list or anything.
Right. But what I mean, yeah, like it's not like a Dirty Harry movie where they're like trying to show that he is the man. Like the whole system is broken and he's the fucking man. Like I don't think this is doing that.
No, it's not a movie that's like trying to throw cock and balls on this guy.
No,
it's just a movie that feels like what he's doing is in pursuit of good, largely. And I disagree.
Yeah, well, of course.
His whole thing is like, with the dope leaving this city's killing way more people than I'm killing on the streets. And I'm like, yeah, but those people are buying it willingly. They tend to be drug addicts and stuff, whereas you're just going around shooting people.
Yeah, and the people on the train just trying to get to work. They don't know what the fuck's going on. You know what scene took me by surprise, too? This leads to the subway sequence, as I recall, right? Is he going home to his apartment and they try to snipe him?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's great.
I always forget that fucking scene. That's what leads to it, I think. He chases the guy.
I think that might be a different chase.
I thought he runs to the roof to find him. He's gone, then sees him on the ground and pursues him on foot until the guy jumps on a train.
Potentially. I could be conflating chases here, Henry.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. All right. So you felt good about the movie?
Yeah, I think it's really fucking great. I think it's very unique. I think it's very kind of detached. It's not really rested in too emotional themes, but at the end it's still got that downer type of thing.
Yeah.
Where they get the drugs, or I guess they don't get the money, we find out in the second one, but fuck the second one for now. In this movie, I was under the impression we got the drugs and the money, we just lost the guy.
Yeah, right. And the actor went to jail.
Correct, and he kills.
And they say 2 of the cops in the final died.
Yeah, because we see him shoot the one guy accidentally. Though I believe the same cop who said the only thing you ever get accomplished is a dead cop. Which again, another part of the movie we are not told what happened, but it's not surprising that
it's just not surprising at all. He's clearly a man who has committed many sins on the force.
Yes. Yeah, he would have done good in the 90s on the NYPD or today.
The LAPD. So what do you give this movie?
I'm going 5.
I'm back up to a 5.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Listen,
the MVP of both of these movies is Gene Hackman. All right?
Yeah, I know. I wanted to give it to Roy for this just so I could get, but
what are we doing?
I know.
It's Gene Hackman. He's incredible. He's Popeye Doyle. He's what you remember. You remember his hat? I wanted to talk about how I bought that hat.
That was a great review too. One of yours. Yeah.
I owned a girl told me to. It was like I was sleeping with this married lady, and she seemed like real mature and together. Maybe not though. She was fucking me. So, she told me to buy this hat. She's like, I think you'd look good in a hat like this.
Yeah, how'd it go for you?
I bought it, and I wore it a few times, and I looked terrible in it. I knew I looked terrible. The first time I put it on, I was like, I look terrible in this. But, I was like, let me keep going. I sent her a picture of me in it, and she was like, yeah, you look good. And I was like, maybe I look good. And all my friends were like, you look terrible. And I was like, but maybe I don't. I think I went out in it like 2-3 times, and that was
That's
it.
Great. Hey man, I regularly wore a fedora for quite a while.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know if were we friends when I was still. I don't think I was.
You
still
had a
sporting
fedora. You weren't wearing it on the regs, but you had one.
Yeah, I wore it a lot when I was in New York and in Pittsburgh a little bit. Yeah. But I'm a good hat. I can wear hats. Hats always worked on me. So I've been told by other people. I don't know what
I agree.
that means, but yeah.
It means you have bad hair. It means you're a ginger, and we don't want to look at it.
Okay, I'm not a ginger. And I used to have great hair. Now the hair that's remaining,
it's still great. The stuff that's still up there, the stuff that's hanging in,
staying in its lane.
Yeah. Oh, Henry. That's it, right? Let's move on to what? Oh, LVP, of course. Who's your LVP in the French Connection?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, we get a lot of villains, a lot of bad guys. I mean, Sal Boak is pretty good.
He is good. That's what I'm doing. I'm going through the list of henchmen, and I'm stopping when I get to someone I don't recognize, because then that's the LVP.
I mean, of course, they have to have a Jewish lawyer who's the corrupt lawyer.
Weinstock. Ridiculous. Yeah, that's my LVP.
Yeah, me too. I didn't like that, like right away.
30 years later, The Wire, using the same trope. They've got the evil Jewish lawyer.
So right. Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. God. Whatever. 30 years later, The Sopranos. We got to do fucking shows about the mafia.
The thing about the evil Jewish lawyer on the Wire is I've met so many fucking evil Jewish dicks like that, and so like that character struck me as real. I'm willing to admit it when sometimes they depict my culture insensitively but accurately.
I admit that as well. However, I have not actually known any mob guys, but
not yet.
But big gold chain wearing and irritating people who make me ashamed to be half Italian, yes.
You needed to meet one in the music industry. I love the connection between music and the mob. Maybe Lord Awesome would be famous today if you had more mob ties.
I wish we would have.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Totally. Yeah.
All right, Henry, let's talk about the French Connection. Roman numeral 2.
Yeah.
This was an early instance of this, of course. Godfather was going part Roman numeral 2.
Right.
Yeah. So, I kind of think this should have gone with part also. The French Connection 2 seems like a low-rent title to me.
I agree. You're right. For a movie of this prestige, it should have gone part 2.
Yeah, I wouldn't have given it shit.
I wouldn't either. 'Cause it is a story that they are insisting takes place in 2 parts.
Right, and
So-
it's which I never knew before. Like, I'd never seen this one.
Me neither, but I figured it was a continuation.
I did not. I always just
Really?
assumed it was an in name only sequel, and that it was going to be like Popeye Doyle on another case. You know?
Oh, I never.
Because he gets transferred off of narcotics at the end of the first one, so I always assumed like the second one's probably some cheapy sequel where he's like now on homicide, and now Popeye Doyle's got to solve a murder.
Fair enough. I think I was just always aware that it was like him in France. That's like all I knew. So I was like, oh, well, it's connected.
Yeah, I had no fucking idea. They're in France, and he's looking for Charnier. It's a direct sequel.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we've got a whole new crew involved. William Friedkin's moved on to Linda Blair's head and shit. And what else? Tidyman, he's working on other shit.
I've seen fucking 5 Frankenheimer movies. That's it?
That's crazy.
Maybe that's not
I've
accurate.
probably only... Frankenheimer's overrated, if you ask me.
I like 3 of his movies, and only one of them I love. So
All right. He's made The Manchurian Candidate.
I didn't rate that because I saw it so long ago. It needs a rewatch.
That's his best movie. What do you like?
All modern shit. Path to War.
Oh, stop it.
My favorite one.
The TV movie. So,
Yeah,
like,
it's great.
Frankenheimer's a guy. He's really well regarded. I think primarily for his action sequences and chases and shit, which is probably why he got put in charge of this franchise.
Yeah, a lot of people fucking love Ronin. They swear by it.
I don't. I think it's fucking boring.
It never did it for me. I think it's boring too. I think I gave it like 3 stars, but that's out of kindness. He does these political things well. He did another HBO one on George Wallace that was very good. So I guess I like.
Yeah, Gary Sinise. Look, but
Just telling you what I like the guy from movies. Hell, he did Island of Dr. Moreau, which is only worth watching to see Val Kilmer's documentary about himself called Val, where you get to watch what happened on set, and you'll love that.
absolutely not. You can watch a feature-length documentary about what happened on set of that movie, an incredible film called Lost Soul. Richard Stanley's The Island of Dr. Moreau or something.
Yeah, fair enough, but on Val you get like fucking secret footage of Frankenheimer yelling at Val Kilmer. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but does Val admit to being a complete terror and a piece of shit on the set of that movie?
So
He is notably missing from that Richard Stanley documentary. He's like the only guy that doesn't show up.
knows what he is. Yeah.
Now he does, maybe. So, yeah, The Island of Dr. Moreau, I think, is a cool movie. But yeah, John Frankenheimer, he's one of these old school directors. He's got like a cigar, and he's going to yell at you, and he's going to call you names, and he's going to tell you to lose 10 fucking pounds, and get your ass out of the trailer, and get on set, and fuck you.
When Hollywood was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really not. He actually hasn't done that many movies.
He's made so many movies. I just think so many of them are throwaway, dude. Like
It says 39 films, but half of them aren't even real movies. So I mean,
But in the 60s, like he did Seconds, which is an interesting movie. I don't think it's that great. It's compelling, but it's overrated, I think. He does The Train, which was a big movie, an interesting thing. I've never seen it, but some people swear by it. Birdman of Alcatraz with Marlon Brando, I think is good and compelling.
Yeah, he gave that a 3. I never saw that.
Yeah, I just think like he's never made like like if The Manchurian Candidate's his best movie, like really, we're talking about this guy like he's one of the greats.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Like I said, he's one of those names. For some reason, he's so fucking famous, and I really think it's because of that movie. I mean, that movie alone.
No, come on. 7 Days in May, Grand Prix, Black Sunday, The Iceman Comet. Those are all big movies.
The Iceman
52
Comet is famous.
Reindeer Games.
Right. But you're naming movies that like film buffs know. The general public doesn't know half those fucking titles. That
Yeah,
you just said,
but regular people don't know who fucking John Frankenheimer is. I'm just saying that in film buff circles, he's discussed like he's a big fucking deal, and I don't think he is.
I agree with you.
Okay, great. So John Frankenheimer's at the helm of this particular French Connection sequel. And we have new writers. Robert Dillon and Laurie Dillon first conceived of the script, and then it was rewritten by a fella by the name of Alexander Jacobs. They're all people of note, I'm pretty sure. Alexander Jacobs went on to... Oh, he had written Point Blank. That's how he got the job.
Oh, Lee Marv.
Yeah. And he'd worked on the 7-Ups with... which I think was directed by...
Philip Dent.
Oh, well, that's nobody, but Scheider was in it. Anyway, and the other guy, Robert Dillon, who was working with somebody named Laurie Dillon, I assume a wife or partner of some kind, he went on to a lot of shit. He probably got this through Prime Cut, which he wrote with Gene Hackman.
Okay.
That was a good movie for Hackman. And after French Connection 2, he went on to a bunch of shit. He wrote that movie Revolution, which flopped real fucking hardcore with Al Pacino, that Revolutionary War movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Never really panned out for him, but whatever. Congrats to him. He wrote a French Connection movie. It ends up coming out May 21st, 1975, 4 years after the original, and in summertime, whereas the original was released in fall. They had no clue what the fuck they were doing back then. They had no fucking clue.
It's too long.
It's too long. You need to release it around the same time. It's ridiculous.
Do you read on Wikipedia with Hackman, I guess, on the commentary, which would be really cool, by the way. I don't own the
I read this, too, and the fact that there's a Gene Hackman commentary track on the French Connection 2 was mind-blowing to me.
I gotta buy that. I just want to hear Gene Hackman talking about a movie he's in. That's fucking great. If he was in anything, if he did any other commentary tracks, I'd be really interested. We got to rank him, dude. I've seen like 30 of his films.
We are this month. I told Cloud we would.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Hey,
okay.
Daniel Cloud. Do you think it's a reference to this movie?
Cloudy, maybe.
I don't know. Or is it his real last name? Time will tell.
I don't know.
Okay. It's not a hit. They upped the budget to $4.3 million, but it only made $12.5 million at the box office. I mean, it made money for them, but they probably wanted more from it. It's number 23 for the year at the box office, as opposed to number 3. It came in between the Eiger Sanction, which is a Clint movie, I think, and something called Race with the Devil, which is not Ride with the Devil.
Not the Secessionist movie. Yeah.
Race with the Devil appears... Ooh, it looks cool, actually. It's Peter Fonda and Warren Oates in an RV.
Warren Oates.
Oh, and they are terrorized after they witness a murder during a satanic ritual. That sounds like a good movie.
All right.
I'd like to watch Race with the Devil. All right, so, but French Connection 2, I'll have you know, it was nominated for 2 whole awards.
All right. Well, we're going to need to hear these again?
No, I guess not. The BAFTAs were one of them. They decided to what?
No, nothing.
Oh, okay.
I'm sad that I didn't play it again.
I could tell. Okay. I could tell you were sad. Gene Hackman was the only thing to get nominated for this movie. He was nominated for Best Actor at the BAFTAs. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention is the BAFTAs were doing a weird thing at this time where you were nominated for like your body of work for the year, not just one movie. So when Hackman won for The French Connection, he actually won for The French Connection and The Poseidon Adventure.
Oh, he's fucking awesome in The Poseidon Adventure. Yeah.
So for this movie, he's nominated for this and Night Moves, which is a cool Arthur Penn movie that I just recently watched.
Yes, that's been on TV. I've been wanting to check that out. Worth it?
Worth watching, yeah. But he lost to Al Pacino for the the twin triumphs of Dog Day Afternoon and Godfather 2. Can't really argue with that.
In 75? Godfather 2?
Hey, this is England.
Oh, right. 6 hours ahead. 5 hours ahead.
And the Golden Globes, Gene Hackman was nominated for Best Actor there as well, but he lost to Jackie Nicholson for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Wow, that's
as
some heavy hitters
McMurphy.
there.
Who's better, McMurphy or Popeye Doyle? If you had to choose one character, the other character never existed.
McMurphy.
Oh, and you picked it so easily. Wow.
Because that's one of my favorite movie characters of all time.
And Popeye is not?
No.
But what about all the great work he does investigating in this film? All right, listen. I've never seen The French Connection 2 before, and I want to talk about it right now. I'm just going to give you my opinion on this baby.
Okay.
All right, and then I'll go to the Blockbuster book, because I forgot to do that.
Yeah, all right.
Maybe we could skip it for this one. I don't think this
movie...
movie...
We've had recording problems, so it's been tough. That's all. I'm just worried we're going to get cut off again.
All right, Henry. Well, The French Connection 2...
Do it.
I know.
Yeah.
I was skeptical of it.
Oh, I was highly skeptical of it. Yeah.
I was suspicious.
Yeah.
Okay?
Me too.
So the movie starts. I'm watching it, and I'm like, still skeptical. This feels low rent. This feels like bullshit to me. It instantly raised my hackles. I was just like, I don't like this. This feels wrong. It feels wrong, Henry.
Okay.
All right, but then I slowed down. I start to get into it a little bit. He goes to France, But then he's dealing with all this comedy bullshit with no one speaks the language. It's a lot of ugly American. You're supposed to be siding with Hackman, but every time I'm siding with the service worker on the other side of it.
Of course.
But then something weird started to happen, Henry. The movie is so weird. It starts taking weird turns and swings, and it veers in some odd directions.
Some really fucking dark directions that I was not expecting.
Yeah, the cops don't want Hackman there at all, so they kick him out of the precinct. He's hanging out on his own, just in France, fucking around. And then Garnier Fructis finds him, and the villain. What's his name actually? Charnier?
Yeah, Charnier.
Yeah. He finds Hackman, and you think it's like he's gonna... I didn't think he was gonna kill him, because then there'd be no movie, but I thought he was gonna kidnap him and kick the shit out of him and send him on his way. Don't get the fuck back to him. I thought it was gonna be a warning or something.
Right.
But then it launches the whole movie into this crazy direction where he injects Popeye with heroin.
Yeah.
And keeps coming back and injecting him with heroin to the point where he gets addicted to heroin and no longer needs the villains, is just getting heroin himself. And so we get to a point where it's we're 3 weeks into this movie, into the investigation of Charnier, and all of a sudden Popeye Doyle is a fucking heroin junkie living on the streets of Marseille. And I'm like, what the fuck movie is this?
Yeah. That shit took me off guard. I liked it though. That whole idea.
It turned me around on the movie, because up until that point, it's kind of just a not as good French Connection, and it doesn't even have the fun of the verite style, because Frankenheimer is shooting it totally just straight cop procedural thriller. It's stylishly and well, like a pro.
Yeah,
but
I wasn't quite as down on it as you. The opening I was. But there were some cool ideas and shit that I wouldn't have ever thought to see, like hiding the drugs in the fish, and that's how we meet the first cops. I liked Henri, his French counterpart.
Although that's another just straight up cold open.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, the heroin thing I thought was a brilliant move because this guy Charnier just essentially wants to know what the fuck are you doing here and what do you know about me? And so I guess he figures in his mind and the screenwriter's mind that he's not, and he says it. He's like, we could beat this fucking guy to death before he tells us, so we're gonna try something a little different.
Yeah.
And it works because Hackman breaks it, but he just says the truth. He's like, I'm the only one who saw you, so they sent me over, and it's fucked up doubly because you find out Hackman says it to Henri in the car later, like it was all on purpose that they left him out as bait to just walk the street. They knew he'd get caught, and they wanted him to get caught, but he dodged his cop tails, so that's why they never knew where the fuck he was.
Yeah,
so
and they were looking for him for like weeks.
Right, this horrifying thing happens to him.
Horrifying. I gotta be honest.
A bad beating than go through what he went through.
I was a little jealous. No, hear me out. Yeah, I don't want to go through like the withdrawal and stuff that he eventually goes through, but hear me out.
I'm gonna have to.
As an alcoholic, as somebody who has gotten sober, and I have addictive tendencies, Henry, and in my life I have frequently considered becoming a heroin addict.
Okay.
When things are going very badly for me, sometimes I have the thought, maybe I'll do heroin.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So,
continue.
But how do you start? Right? You have to know somebody. You have to have some money. You have to know where to go. You have to have a connect, And you have to have the guts, like, when you shoot heroin for the first time, like, this might be it for you.
Right. Fentanyl could be involved these days.
But I just mean, like, you might never come back from this. You're going to get addicted to this, and this is going to be your life from now on.
Absolutely. Yeah, right.
So, like, that's always stopped me. But maybe if I had a Charnier in my life.
Right.
Who could just... It's almost like he gives Popeye, like, a starter pack of heroin.
It is a starter pack. He's got a bed. He's got a room.
Amazing. He has a bed and a room.
He's got a nicer joint than they got in Train Spotting.
I'll tell you, the creepiest part of that whole sequence was that old lady who comes in and steals his watch.
I got to tell you, I thought I was correct when I was watching it, but then I was just like, no, those are just old lady, like, old people have very thin skin, so I was like, they like bruises on her arms. I was like, but then something, the way she was talking. Marks. Right, but yeah. I didn't confirm that.
And also her hands were mangled.
Well, she's like 1,000 years old. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I liked when she stole his watch. That was a good scene, but and I like the very subtle acknowledgement that as fucked up as Popeye is, he sees her steal his watch because he chuckles like right as she's doing it. Like,
I don't think so. I don't think he feels it happening. No, I think he's just chuckling at her, at the situation.
I thought he knew, but anyway, yeah, it's fucking horrifying though, but very well put for beginning a heroin addict habit. Try to find a drug kingpin. Now, you know what this is reminding me of? It didn't remind me of at the time, but it's reminding me during this discussion. There's that Denzel movie from the early 90s.
Heart Condition?
Where they do the same thing to him. Is it Ricochet?
Ricochet. It is fucking Ricochet. I love Ricochet.
So they took that from here, I think.
Probably.
Yeah. It's only 50.
I feel like I've seen that in other movies too. It's definitely a trope, but this is the earliest I can remember seeing it.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it that much, but
I've seen it once or twice and stuff.
It's fucking good, man. The funny part is though, the movie has one major flaw to me. One major flaw.
Tell me.
Length.
Oh my god, you're totally right, dude.
Like, it's tautly directed and it's fast paced for a lot of, but it's still too fucking long.
Way too fucking long. And It's the kind of movie where like you go back and like read the plot description afterwards, and it's so simple and concise where you're like, they could have done this. Like, there are too many weird edges sticking out of this movie.
Right.
It's 2 hours long, which is 16 minutes longer than the original. And the original is telling this perfect cop story with like 3 all-time classic action sequences, and like also finds time to like say something downbeat and cynical and true about like the way cities are run. And you know, and so this movie, I just judge John Frankenheimer. Like, I judge a director who can sit there and take a look at the original French Connection and think, to tell my story with these characters, I need 15 more minutes. My story requires more time. And I just say, if you're directing a sequel to a classic movie, it should be shorter.
Yeah.
It should be fucking shorter than the original.
Yeah, it's kind of ballsy to make it longer, just in itself. It's a little ballsy. I actually thought that when I saw the runtime before I put either of them on. I was like, oh, sequels longer?
Yeah.
Methinks not. And, you know, the withdrawal
Denis.
Well, what about Denis?
Well, Blade Runner 2049 is like double the length of Blade Runner.
Right, it's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, it is. You know, the detox sequence in the prison cell, I mean, I like that a lot. That was very detailed, very long. It went on for a really long time. It
goes on for too long, and it's stupid. That's not how detox works. It drove me nuts. Why aren't they hooking him up to something intravenous? Why are they having him just handcuffed to a door, getting fed soup by a cop who doesn't even like him?
Well, what did they do? They gave him a respiratory, because I'm sure he was in respiratory distress. They gave him like a fucking tube that was clearly, I think there's been advancements in that. It was so slipshod. I don't think
he never is in a hospital bed this entire movie.
He said he's not going to bring him to one because he didn't want to like ruin his career or whatever. I don't fucking know.
What, like this is not going to come out?
That's what he told me.
He was injected with heroin, and why would it come back on him? Like,
yeah, I know. Well, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's what his Henri tells him.
I love Henri. Can I say, when the first half of the movie, I was like down on this character. I was like, who gives a shit? He's just like some smug asshole who hates Popeye, and like every scene is like him going like, you come across so like a barbarian to me, and Popeye is like, what, you're drinking that faggy shit, what the fuck? And that's the whole dynamic until the weird heroin shit. And then there's this long sequence with
Mickey Mantle.
Oh my god, Gene Hackman's going through withdrawal, and he's yapping to this guy a lot, like talking about like in a stream of conscious, and Gene Hackman I think is really remarkable in this sequence.
He really is. I mean, it's to talk about getting that character who we've witnessed be nothing but a fucking hard ass to turn into that and do it convincingly was pretty impressive.
Yeah, in the French Connection Roman numeral 2.
Yeah, I know. Of all things,
yeah.
I know. When he's going about how he tried out for the Yankees.
Oh my god. I wrote that down. Which I was like, the second he said it, I was like, this is the most bullshit thing I've ever heard. And then the monologue was so heartbreaking. And then I looked up after the movie, and the guy who Popeye Doyle's actually based on did try out for the Yankees.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So he says he tried.
We never said that. We never really said that. But the two main cops, Cloudy and Popeye,
they're
are
vaguely based on real life NYPD guys. Popeye had a tryout with the Yankees, and he says he lost his spot to a kid that was like so fast and hit a ton. He hit a ton. So good. And then he reveals it's Mickey Mantle. And then like the conversation goes on like normal, and then like 5 minutes later, just apropos of nothing, he just says Mickey Mantle sucks.
Yeah, that was great. I also love the cultural disconnect when he says, Whitey Ford, Whitey Ford, you know him? And he's like, no. He's like, he was a lefty. And he's like, a communist? And he's like, no, no.
I thought it was so funny that he was bringing up Whitey Ford too, because right before he brings up Whitey Ford, he's talking to him and he's going like, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, you ever heard of that? And he starts doing like, say hey, say, and like fucking, like, if this random French guy has never heard of Willie Mays, I don't think he's heard of Whitey Ford.
Right, I thought the same thing. I think it was maybe even just apropos of the degenerative nature of Withdrawal, where he's just, at that point, just naming shit that's coming through his
It reminded me of Me and You, dude. It reminded me of me in Jersey when I was going through, it's dark, but it's true. When I was going through withdrawal in, what's that town in Jersey?
Oh, Perth Amboy.
Perth Amboy. When when they kicked me off the bus and shit. And you were, like, sitting with me on my fucking hospital bed and, like, chatting with me. And that's sort of what it felt like. Was like, I knew in the moment that I wasn't making sense, and I knew in the moment that you were being nice to me.
Oh, hey. Yeah.
Fucking hell. All right. So that's that sequence. And then, and so he, like, this Henri, like, nurses Gene Hackman back to sobriety and health. Like, keeps him sober. Helps
him cognac as part of his recovery, which I found interesting.
Which I think would be helpful. Like, if you're a heroin addict and you can drink alcohol, like, if that's not a problem for you, I would think that would be a huge help. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, and he's like, I didn't drink this shit before. It was fucking good, huh?
Right. Yeah.
And then, so I just think the nerve when after this, like, the cops want to send him back to America, and Gene Hackman, like, the way he's able to stay is he talks to Henri and he says, "You owe me one."
Yeah.
And I'm like, excuse me, if one of you owes one of you one, you owe Henri a fucking shit ton.
Very true, but he's referring to, of course, the dry dock sequence when he saves his life from drowning.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, no, I thought, I actually had the thought.
That was a cool little action sequence, too.
That was very cool. When I actually had the thought, no lie, when he was pulling him out of the water, I was like, all right, he'll say to him, all right, now we're even. But he doesn't.
Yeah, right, yeah. I thought that might come back, too. I'm glad it didn't, though. That would have been maybe a step too cheesy.
Forced, agreed. But yeah, there's a lot of chase. I did like Popeye's retribution. I did not see that coming. He's just clear. He's on the street and he tells him, "Here I am. I remember what," and he knew the whole time, which was great. That was a great touch.
But here I am. As we know, Popeye, he is what he is.
He's am what he am. Yeah. Am what he am. Because when they drag Popeye into that hotel heroin, he sees the welcome mat and it says Hotel Tangier, and he remembered. I was like, well, we're seeing that for a reason. So obviously he didn't tell Henri any of that, and he just calls him from a payphone and says, bring lots of water.
Oh, is this when he burns it down? Yeah. That's fucking nuts. He really should be sent back to America for that. That's the craziest thing he does in either of these movies.
I agree with you 100%. He needs to go to an insane asylum. I mean, he almost killed like 400 people in that fucking place.
Yeah, but I know they're degenerate hookers and gamblers, but you don't need to burn them alive.
But he gets the case there. He solves it with that, and then that leads into I like the rehabilitation. See, that would have cut some time out of the movie. You could have cut 6 minutes out the movie when they show him like running around France to get his health back.
Yeah, but I kind of like that. I would cut other shit.
There's lots to cut, but I mean, it's too long. Show me like one sequence of Popeye trying to do sit-ups. I'm good. I don't need him. Days, because he's wearing different shirts. He's wearing. It's like, God.
I want to see Hackman in those shirts.
Oh, they're great shirts. Mm-hmm. And so then he's chasing this trolley basically down a streetcar named Desire down this fucking Rue de Pont Saint Gall, and boy, he's a runner. That Hackman, he really runs.
He's very convincing. You know, I read that he had some sort of a issue like with his leg at the time, so like all that like breathing you hear him doing and like the grimacing and him grabbing his leg in that sequence, he said like most of that shit's just real.
Oh, I'm sure it is. Yeah. So I dug all that. I mean, what did you? There was a lot.
Cool, yeah. And then it ends with this sudden ending with he finally spots Charnier.
So 70s.
Yeah, on a yacht, and takes a couple of shots, kills the motherfucker. Boom, directed by John Frankenheimer. And it's pretty cool little scene. I thought it was effective. It's a good little cut to black too.
I did too. I agree. I
enjoyed The French Connection too, gang.
I did too. I mean, it's a good movie. It's
what
a good movie.
What do you give it?
I've been borderline all day.
Me too, and I'm landing on one. I've been between a 3 and a 4, as I assume you have been too.
Me too.
And I'm gonna give this motherfucker a 4.
All right, I will too.
Come on, Popeye Doyle does a ton of heroin in it.
Yeah, you know, because a 3 that just seems a little unenthusiastic for what this movie's. It's very ballsy and ambitious to even try it, and then some of the choices are questionable, but some of the other ones swing big and make it.
You know what you could have cut out? Him trying to fuck that volleyball player. And you know what else he could have cut out? Him palling around with that bartender.
Oh, I like that.
You like that? Okay.
That was fun for me. It was like a bonding drinking moment that you have with bartenders.
It was fine once they were bonding and drinking, but he was just being such a little douchebag at the beginning of that sequence.
Very true. Yeah, very true. So, all right, wow, 2 4s. Yeah.
MVP Hackman, of course.
Yeah. LVP, boy, there's like no women in this movie, so I can't even think of.
Wait, we've been calling this guy Henri. His name is Bartlemy.
That's his last name.
Right, but that's what he's credited as.
Henry. Yeah.
This actor, I mean, do you know this guy from anything? He's actually in Z. I guess that's how Frankenheimer.
Oh, there you go. No, I don't know fucking from anything, man. Yeah. Let me see. LVP for The French Connection 2.
You're not going to go with Ed Lauder. He's good.
No, I'd never go with him. He's always good and shit.
I just thought it was weird we didn't mention him because he's like the only other actor I knew in the entire movie.
You're absolutely right. It was. And it's an undeveloped plot thread, though. Like, I wasn't quite sure what that all meant. He was clearly a corrupt military guy going to Geneva for some, and it was
You're
like.
Right. That was a plot thread we didn't need. You know what? Nothing against the guy, but LVP Ed Lauder.
It's not his fault, but LVP's General Bryan.
Sure. Oh, General Bryan.
Any general named Bryan, first of all, I don't trust. But yeah.
My sister's been with a couple Bryans too, and hasn't gone well. All right, stuff. Henry. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, before I go, do you want me to blockbuster it up real quick?
Sure.
I feel like I've done this. 1975. We've done all these. Yeah, it's like Barry Lyndon and Dog Day Afternoon and shit.
Oh, it'll be back. The book will be back, folks. The book will be back.
Night Moves is in there, though. Gene Hackman was represented.
Oh, all right. Good.
All right. Melanie Griffith. Right. She was naked in it.
Right.
Tommy.
No, I...
Yeah. That deaf, dumb, and blind kid... Here, listen to the entry on Tommy. That deaf, dumb, and blind kid sure plays a mean pinball, and director Russell fills the screen with pulsating vignettes. It's so horrible.
Wow. 89, sweetheart.
I hate the world. All right.
Follow me on Letterboxd. Follow Dan on Letterboxd. Leave a fucking review, folks. It's been like 2 months. Oh, yeah.
Well, we haven't been mentioning it. Yeah. We could use a 5-star rating or review on iTunes. That actually is really genuinely helpful for us. Patreon.com/thefranchise. You can hear us rank the films of Gene Hackman later this month. And we've got some games brewing. It's been fun on there.
How did the
People loved it. People loved it. Yeah, I think we'll do it again.
She listened to about 30 minutes of it, and I was entertained myself.
Good.
It was I thought it was good, but I know I only heard from one or two people, but I figured I thought it pretty well.
Discord was going mad about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
If you want to be on the Discord, email me at thefranchisepod@gmail.com and I'll send you a link. This week on the Patreon at patreon.com/thefranchise, we've got We Love Kids Movies with me and Shut Up Tim talking about Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then this week on Comp Beast, we're starting Big Brother 3. Very exciting.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
And anything else you'd like to distribute, Henry?
Some heroin, I guess. I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, if you do, think of me.
I will.
Yeah.
This was fun. I'm glad we got back to the 70s for a little bit. Next week we're going to be entering quite a different genre of movies I've never seen anything of, but had to sell a shit ton of them. So that'll be interesting. And Daniel, I'll let you present it since it's your pick
for next week.
Yeah, he doesn't even remember.
No, I do. I was distracted. I was looking up Jason Anthony Harris's great new album, Public Speaking. The record is called Friends Need Songs.
Right.
Wait,
right.
no, I'm sorry. It's the opposite. It's Songs Need Friends, right?
Right.
Yeah. Fuck. I think you could, check that out. Publicspeaking.bandcamp.com or go on the Public Speaking Patreon. It's great shit.
I'm a member.
Me too. All right. H-Dog, fucking next week. Let's do it. It's so exciting, gang. One of the hugest franchises of all time. The highest grossing. The biggest buzz. So many awards, mostly teen and people. MTV. Yeah. Okay?
Good.
But next week we are launching the Twilight franchise. Okay? So we might have some guests coming up down the pike. I'll let you know. But, and we're covering all 5 films. But next week, just the first one. We got to start off Henry Wright. I've seen these all.
Okay, right.
Henry doesn't know anything about it. They're on Netflix. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I did. I checked. All of them are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But next week, it's just Twilight. Boy, 2 hours and 2 minutes. From 2008. Directed by the great Catherine Hardwicke.
Okay.
Great. The adequate Catherine Hardwicke.
Sister Chris.
Yeah. And, so if you want, you can also check out Stephanie Meyer's great novel, To Prepare. I don't know if you'll be doing that.
I might do that. I might too. Yeah, I might.
Yeah. So we'll talk about all of them. Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson,
Batman,
Anna Kendrick. What's his name? The boy.
Taylor Lautner.
Taylor Lautner. Yeah. Yeah, from Valentine's Day.
Very good. So now this is not a commission. This is a Dan pick.
It is, yeah. I thought it would be good for the show.
I think you're right.
So this week's Twilight. Next week. Then the following week we'll do New Moon and Eclipse, and then the third week, Breaking Dawn Parts 1 and 2.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Beautiful things.
Yeah.
Beautiful things.
So I'm really excited for it. These are some movies, Henry. These are some big lumbering pieces of movie. I think we're gonna love talking about them.
Some celluloid will be on the screen. No,
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have a good time talking about them, not necessarily watching them. But I also don't anticipate being possibly tortured.
I think you'll be at least intrigued.
Yeah, I am. It was. I mean, the fucking thing was such a goddamn phenomenon, and you and I were friends when they started these movies.
Yeah, so I'm sort of interested in your take because it's sort of like way, like, no one really talks about these anymore. It's like 15 years ago at this point.
They were huge.
They were
when we
so big. They were so fucking huge.
We were everywhere. We were inundated with merch. Everywhere.
I remember when they were coming out, those books, the covers with the little white hands. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
All right, we'll talk about it next week. Fucking Twilight coming up. Exciting stuff, as per usual, Henry.
All right, brother. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Peace to you all around the world. Happy trails.